kind of my philosophy, except that I would like to add to that, and sometimes you have to ask for help. And that can be tricky, as many of us can tell you. Pretend that you are blind and you're in a public place and you need to find the restroom. So you find someone and you say, can you please tell me where the ladies' room is? And they say, it's over there. It's over there. See that sign? Okay, so you say, you hold up your cane or you point to your dog and you say, I can't see. And they say, oh, sorry, it's over there. So now you're on lane C, and you point. And you say, this way, that way, and sooner or later, somebody will get you to the ladies' room. But, you know, the opposite can also hold true. You can be walking down the street in Center City minding your own business. See, there's a lot of blind people in here and I don't know what I'm going to say. And suddenly somebody grabs your arm. And they hold it in a death grip, and it's usually the arm that's holding the cane or the harness. And you are rendered helpless. I have even had people grab the bottom part of my white cane and tap it for you. And they always say the same thing. Watch out! They scream it in your hearing aid. But don't let me discourage you, because there are times when the blind really need the help of the sighted. So don't hesitate to offer assistance. However, don't hold them. Let them hold on to you. Every once in a while somebody asks me, how much can I see? And that reminds me of an old philosopher whose name I cannot recall, who said something like, to every complicated question there is a simple answer, and it is wrong. I see black and white. I see, actually I don't see black, I see dark. I don't see black. I see kind of a dark gray and light and fuzzy gray and no detail. I have night blindness, and I can't distinguish any color. But I see other stuff. Early on, I started to see swirling colors and shapes and vibrating spots. And I felt the need to put this down in paint before I lost my tunnel vision. Not because I thought of it as art, because I don't. But it was helpful for me to do this, and it got me back painting again after I hadn't been able to pick up a brush for a long time. So now I'm more interested, because I'm a type who likes to think about these things, I'm more interested in the mind's eye. And back when I could still do watercolor with tunnel vision, to relax, I would do paper mache figures. And one night I realized that I was working on the opposite side of the piece. And I had my eyes partially closed. And that's when I realized that my brain was making some kind of transition, because I was seeing with my fingers. And then someone was teaching me crochet when I couldn't see. And I realized that as I worked on the stitch, I could really see it in my mind's eye as it took shape. In fact, I kind of had to look down at my hands the way I used to do when I could sew. And now when I work on a large clay form, and I put my hands inside to hollow it out or to build it up, I feel as though I can see through the walls of the piece. I have a son, I mentioned this a couple times, I have a son who, as a child, we realized he was losing his hearing. And when he was an adult, he was just about completely deaf. And a couple of years ago, he had a cochlear implant. And if you don't know what that is, briefly, I'll say it's a chip that's embedded in your skull, and when the surgery heals, it bypasses your ear, and when the surgery heals, you wear a device behind your ear, like a hearing aid, and it sticks to your skull with magnetism. And they explained to my son that his brain had forgotten the pathways of understanding sound, and it would take him a little while before he could understand sound. So when he left the hospital, one of the first things he heard was the clicking of the turn signal, which he didn't know made a noise. And when I got there, it took us a little while before he figured out that what, in fact, we were all trying to figure out, what he was hearing was the dog panting. He said that speech sounded like speeded up Donald Duck. But eventually he did learn to understand speech, and a couple of months ago he got the second cochlear implant. So I'm about to leave tomorrow to go see him. And I feel as though those pathways that are created by his understanding sound as he relearned them are the same as the pathways that go from my fingertips to my mind's eye. And because I'm deaf and blind, recently I've been interested in Helen Keller and people like Helen Keller. And it's pretty well determined that the other senses of people like Helen Keller and the blind do not become better. They do not. It's just that they pay attention. And if someone would have told me, and if I had known what my diagnosis was, I don't think I would have had the stamina and what it took to get my degree. And I am so glad that I didn't know. Because the things that I learned as a painter apply directly to my sculpture. And I feel as though I've been able to learn an additional level of sculpture that a sighted person rarely experiences. And so if you've seen any of my pieces out there, I did a series of pieces that have hidden spaces that are meant to be touched. And if you don't touch them, you're going to miss something. And so I invite you all to, and it's not just my work, all of the rest of us who have pieces, I invite you to close your eyes and gently touch our pieces. And you may find that you are distracted by your eyesight. And you may find that blindness is a wonderful teacher, and that you are not a body, but a mind and a spirit, and the body's eyes have nothing to do with vision.